In this video, I want to discuss the different hormonal changes that happen from premenopause through perimenopause and then into postmenopause. So this will be a very condensed version, clearly, but we go from being very hormonally thriving beings when we are premenopausal. We're having a very consistent cycle that for most people goes about 28 days, and you are having your 4 different phases that are pretty much clockwork for most women. And we go from low hormones to high hormones. Our body's preparing to have a baby, and we either do or we don't. And so I have walked you through that hormonal change during the menstrual phases. And when we are hitting perimenopause, which for some women, it happens as early as mid-30s. Most women, it starts shifting at 40, early 40s, and perimenopause can definitely last a decade or maybe even more. For some women, a little less. And this is all going to be determined by what you've done during your premenopausal years, what your genetics are. And so it's very important not to compare your journey with anyone else's because it's going to be entirely different, woman to woman. And so that's why it's very important for you to take your health in your own hands and you do your own research and you really get the proper testing when that time comes to understand what is going to be needed for your body. But during perimenopause, this is when everything starts going a little wonky, a little haywire. So for some women, they're very estrogen dominant and their progesterone is low. That's typically for a lot of women what you experience. So if you start getting these really painful menstrual cycles and really extreme bloating and a lot of rage and just temper and no libido, these can all be signs of definitely being low progesterone. Now, it gets very interesting because you can be very estrogen dominant and it be because your estrogen is just that high. You can also be estrogen dominant because you are not detoxing your body because you're on birth control, possibly, and you're not bleeding. And that's one method to getting that estrogen out of our body every month. So a little food for thought there. If you're not having a cycle and you are estrogen dominant, that might be something to consider. Now, you can also have these shifts that are happening, and one month you're high, and then the other month you're here, and it's ever changing, okay? So it's just a constant changing game. And I do have a Thriving Hormones Masterclass that you will have access to. And it's something that goes into the nitty-gritty, the details of all the things. So if you are struggling, or maybe you know someone who's struggling, this is going to show you all the different elements of if you're having these symptoms, it might correspond with this issue hormonally. And so with this information, you can really take matters into your own hands and you can execute it from a very natural food is healing, lifestyle is healing standpoint. But at some point, you might want to consider taking additional methods, whether that's hormone replacement therapy or incorporating certain herbs and vitamins and, nutrients that your body's lacking. So a lot of different strategies there. But again, the level of your need will just depend on you person to person. So in some women, it's really not that important. They don't really care that they're having these issues and they're just going to kind of wait it out. And that's fine too. If that's the approach you want to take, that's fine. Now, when we get closer to menopause, we are having significant drops in most everything. So our estrogen is very, very low. Progesterone is very, very low. Testosterone drops, which is something that we need to be talking about in terms of female health much more than we currently are. And it seems to be more focused on the men, whereas women, we thrive from having healthy testosterone. So if we are really struggling with our energy, really struggling with libido, really struggling in, a lot of different areas that we weren't back years ago, low testosterone could be the problem, along with low estrogen and progesterone as well. But, these days there are different measures you can take. And, I think understanding where your body is at is and should be the top priority. And, you can read all the books in the world, you can watch all the videos on all the things, but until you actually have the information about what is going on in your body in that moment, you're not going to be able to feel your best self. So you can execute it from a balancing standpoint with cycle syncing. You can also execute it with natural herbs. But at some point, you might want to consider, taking additional measures. And again, that's all going to vary person to person. So these changes definitely need to come along with lifestyle changes. And so whereas when you're premenopausal, you're able to really follow a very basic approach in terms of calorie counting, macro counting, and keeping it pretty simple. And you can eat a lot of inflammatory things that aren't going to present in a negative way until they do. And typically they do when it's a very compounding effect with here we're in perimenopause, we're all over the place with our hormones, we're up, we're down, we're all around. And now because of that, we're also suffering from our gut because of years of eating things just strictly focused on macros and not focused on ingredients, or maybe not even macros or ingredients. So now, after years of doing damage to our gut, we're really feeling the struggle with our gut, and we're really feeling the struggle hormonally, and those two are intertwined very tightly. So now we're in a place where no matter what we feel we're doing, it's really not working to our benefit in terms of nutrition and exercise. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just we need to really map things out in a more customized manner. And so when you have the information about where you're at, it's really going to help with coming up with the most expedited game plan in your ventures. Or you can go about it by piecing things together with what you read and what you hear and what you see, and that's fine too. But always know that a customized approach, having the facts about your body, will always get you to your goal much faster than not. And when we get a little bit older into our journey, a little bit further along, it's very important to understand that our body is changing, and so should, the macro breakdown. We should go more focused on the proteins and the healthy fats versus when we're younger and we can thrive from higher carbs. Our body's not capable of maintaining healthy blood sugar and healthy insulin levels the same when we're further along. So we need to really pivot in our approach to really reap the benefits. See you in the next video.